morning, everyone. Stuart is still away, and we are trying to get back on our regular shooting schedule. With my being gone and Stuart's being gone, it has just been a challenge. Nevertheless, I did want to show you a project that I worked on yesterday. Because I have been gone, and because it's been really such a dry and hot late summer and early fall, I've decided to be a little bit more conservative about my pumpkinizing. But nevertheless, I really like what I'm doing, even though it's a little bit more modest in scale. So as you can see, I am just pumpkinizing the large urns that run across my front porch. And they have 2 tours in them, and 2 of them have some tropical jasmine that actually were indoor plants that I got at Trader Joe's last year. And because I don't like to discard something while it can still be useful, what I did was just plant them in these urns, primarily for their foliage. And they make a wonderful counterpoint, I think, to the small pumpkins and gourds that I have placed and positioned inside of these metal 2 tours. And yes, next year in my QVC line, I will be offering a 2 tour that has a little bit more flexibility than these have. So I will show you a street view of these, and I apologize for the light being harsh. But all I did was go up to Bricks, my favorite go-to place just up the street for pumpkins and gourds. And I kind of counted how many I thought I would want to place in these urns. And according to the size of the circles that form the support of the 2 tours themselves, paying special attention to what sizes I got, so that I would be able to insert them into the 2 tour, and also being mindful that I got a number of them with long enough stems that served as kind of hooks that could then enable them to be suspended from these iron rings on the 2 tours. And I stuck with pretty much just orange and white. I got a combination of pumpkin pies. And by the way, they were a great price at Bricks. So if you're in the Oklahoma City area, you definitely want to go there. We're going to be shooting there later today. They had Baby Boos and Jack B. Littles for just $1, in addition to some other types of gourds. Obviously, this is not one of the jasmines. It is a topiary started that got slightly damaged in an ice storm, but nevertheless, it is bouncing back. And I mulched it, so to speak, with some small gourds. And yes, by the way, yesterday I timed it. In that first pot that I showed you, I started to place the pumpkins, and literally within an hour, one of them was already being chewed on by a squirrel, and I actually took some footage of that I may insert in here. So these 2 tours are in 3 different sizes, and as I said, they just run the length of the porch. But I love the kind of sophistication and simple elegance of putting the gourds inside the 2 tours. Simple, but a pop of color on the wall. I can enjoy them both from inside out and from outside in. You can definitely see them from the street. I will show them to you from that aspect. But then also you can see how wonderful they look in rhythm and repetition running along the wall. a good autumnal pop of color that's very easy. Now, you may notice also that there's some additional embellishments, and one of the reasons that I find the controversial Nandina foliage and berries so indispensable, it's because I can then tuck in some of the still green or just beginning to turn kind of a terracotta berries into the pots themselves, along with that wonderful, delicate foliage. And the nice thing is, I just cut it from the shrubs in the back, watered these pots, and then the water in the soil itself will help keep the cuttings fresh. But even if the cuttings don't remain fresh of the Nandina leaves and berries, that's okay, because even when they dry, they have a very autumnal look. And they just add a little bit of softness and a kind of a pendulous quality to the urns themselves. Now, if you don't have Nandina, you could use whatever kind of berrying plants you have. You could even buy some berrying foliage. So now I'm going to go out to the street and show you what it looks like from my yard and from a distance. So from the street and from a distance, you can still see that there is a touch of orange and autumn on the porch. And actually, when the light is not so harsh, you can see them so much better. And then at nighttime, I can put in little tea lights. I can place some lanterns out here. And it gives just the touch of autumn that I want without going over the top and putting a lot of really large pumpkins into the beds themselves. Again, I've got another wedding coming up, and because of the weather conditions this year, I just decided to be, just a little bit more tame in my autumnalizing. Now you can see from here that the window box, which I normally fill with pumpkins and gourds and such, is still profuse with the coleus, the plumbago, the angelonia, and some other kind of cascading plants. And so I've decided it's really not necessary to tuck anything in there. I will light that lantern. But I love the textural contrast of the pots. And again, it was easy and simple. So if you just have nothing more than a couple of pots to flank your front porch, then this may be an option for you. And hopefully, I think Stuart gets back tomorrow, and we'll get back to our regular routine. And you won't have to put up with my shoddy camera work. I just love the way they look. They almost look as if they're growing on the tutor and growing on the vine. So that's my question of the day, I guess, is how much autumnalizing are you doing this year? Are you doing your traditional pumpkin display? Is it too hot to still go overboard where you are? Do you prefer the really large pumpkins or the smaller, more delicate pumpkins? And are you using them inside or out? Go out and enjoy the beautiful afternoon.